After 7 years in deep space.
There were 18 people on board this ship when it disappeared. I want them all accounted for.
Opening outer door.
It came back, abandoned.
Any crew? Negative. This place is a tomb.
But it didn't come back alone.
Captain Miller! I've got some problems here!
This ship has been beyond the boundaries of our universe. Who knows where it's been? And what it's brought back with it.
Did you hear that? What is it? The ship is reacting to us and the reactions are getting stronger.
What are you telling me? That this ship is alive?
I have such wonderful things to show you.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Seamen on Film or Movie Night in America. Same cast of characters. I just now noticed we've been joined by the USS High Fructose. Nevertheless, so tonight we're discussing...
Did I spell it correctly?
You spelled it wong.
You missed the C after.
Yeah, well, that's probably a copyright thing, so it's leave it the way it is.
No, Fructose is a scientific name.
But tonight we will be, we will be discussing the 1997 Infinite Space, Infinite Terror, Event Horizon. Yes, that was on the movie poster. So as we often do, we'll talk about some of the movies that came out in 1997. 97 was actually a pretty good year for movies when you stop and you look at it. So at the box office, just domestically, the top of the box office that year, Men in Black, followed by Lost World, and all the way down to number 10, again, just domestically. And there's a bunch more in there. Titanic obviously went on to make gajillion dollars worldwide. The last of the top 10 was George of the Jungle. So to put it into perspective.
Yeah. I was right into that.
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser.
To put it, Brendan Fraser, yeah. Put it into perspective, Event Horizon, number 77 that year, domestic box office. However, it beat out Sling Blade and Good Burger. So I just
not at my house.
It did beat those. It did beat those out.
I could
but some other
probably
good
still
movies
say
that-
Good Burger for word.
Bless your little heart, as my mother would. Some other movies that came out in 97. Yeah, Good Will Hunting, The Fifth Element, LA Confidential, and Gattaca. So actually a pretty good movie, a pretty good year for movies, rather. But nevertheless, tonight we're talking about Event Horizon, and I have prepared for you a little bit of a cue card. This is mainly for you, Joe. So I don't know if you can read this. See if we can get on there. So Event Horizon, 1997. So we got a few counts on here. Number one is breasts. So there's three in the movie. The first one is a half. There's well, there's three total.
Okay.
First one's a half, and Joe, this is where you want to take notes. That's at 10 minutes 47 seconds. Now you get to see both of those boobs at 1 hour 8 minutes 40 seconds. Now I don't know if it matters. It's attached to an eyeless dead woman. But hey, man, if you're desperate, there it is.
Is it
Don't spoil it for me.
Well, you know, we're gonna spoil the whole thing here. Yeah. Dead bodies, it's 10 is what I came up with, but there's a question mark there because we really don't know, and that's one of the problems I have. How many people are on that ship? Because it was flipping massive. They only introduced 5, but you know we'll get there. But so some things that happened there. You have a shattered corpse, which I thought was pretty neat. Mm-hmm. You got autopsy torture, which I thought was pretty neat. Multiple eye gouging, about 400 gallons of blood, apparently non-sticky blood, because it barely any of it stuck to her, even though she was standing right by it. And 2 trips to hell. That's right, 2 trips to hell. Again, I mean, by the end of this, we're going to have spoiled the entire movie, so we might as well spoil it from the beginning. So let's jump right into it. Event Horizon, science fiction movie, directed by Paul Anderson, who gave us some pretty good stuff, man. I mean, he gave us Soldier. He gave us the first Resident Evil. Alien versus Predator, and prior to this, he gave us Mortal Kombat. Maybe his opus and epic, Mortal Kombat, 1995. Bit of a troubled movie.
Those were all cult.
All actually cult movies at this point,
Yeah.
including this one, including the one we're talking about, Event Horizon. So the year is 2047. So here we are, 25 years before it takes place, 25 years after it was released. Pretty neat, right? That's right. Just figured we'd throw that in there.
Yay, math.
2047. Yeah, math is fun. It's 2047. The Event Horizon is a ship, for those of you that don't know. Opens up, we're on a space station, and again, we're not going to do a synopsis of the whole thing, but a few things I like to point out. When we open up, we meet Dr. Weir, played by Sam Neill, who's shaving with a straight razor.
Yeah, even though it's
2047. I was like,
Why are we still using that technology?
Because you don't need any more. This whole 5-6 blade shit we're going to pretty soon is just going to be a fucking blade hat you put on and pull off. You only need that one.
I mean,
smarter in the
he's not
future.
wrong.
Yeah.
He's not wrong, man.
There's a lot of that.
He's not wrong at all. But nevertheless, we get this pretty cool shot of the space station coming out the window and the whole thing and blah, 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 blah. Before that, we have kind of this nightmare dream sequence of this body that's like sectioned out and all kinds of crazy stuff, missing its eyeballs, whatever. We don't know what's going on. And one thing I do like about this movie, it doesn't take a whole long time getting set up and getting started. I mean, it throws you in there and you're going. Yes, they've got to make it all the way to Neptune, but they get there that fast. So it definitely gets going and starts moving. Dr. Weir, Sam Neill, gets called to one of the docking bays on this space station, where he boards the Lewis and Clark, a rescue ship, and we find out, little thing at the bottom. It's USAC, like I'm supposed to know what that means.
Right.
USAC, rescue ship, whatever, crew, however many, the Lewis and Clark. And so we get in there, and again, so I'm going to complain about the movie. I really like the movie. I picked it. I really like the movie, but I'm going to complain some.
I have two complaints right off the bat.
Yeah, what do you got? What do you got?
Let me see if you get to it.
Okay. So one of the complaints that I have, and it's not just this movie, it's a lot of sci-fi movies, and I like sci-fi. A lot of the stuff is thrown at you, and you just accept it. There is no explanation for it. It's just, here's how things, we're not going to tell you how they work. We're going to make you figure it out. It's not that I'm super stupid, but some things, hey, spoon feed me. Let me know what's going on, man. None of this means anything to me, but you're presenting it to me like I read the book, and I didn't. Trust me, I did not read the book. But so, they're in these suspension tanks. And another thing that I love about movies like this, you get some things explained to you in 5 words, and you're like, okay, great, sounds good. It sounds good to me. It's almost like Santa Claus brings you presents, and that's it. You don't question it beyond that when you're 5 years old. So anyway, we have another little, I guess it would be a nightmare. We're not going to call it a dream sequence, but a nightmare sequence. And it is at this point that Dr. Weir comes out of this stasis, this green bathtub thing, stand-up shower.
Oh, can I stop you then? Can I stop you?
Yeah, go for it.
I just want to bring up 2 things that I love complaining about. First is we're introduced to this rescue ship, and they're complaining about having to do their job.
So you're right. You're right about that.
And number 2 is when we're getting introduced to this crew, and they always hate the new guy. Like, those are the 2 tropes that I hate the most on these type of movies.
So I'm gonna take I'm gonna go the other way with it, just for a minute. Just bear with me. When they're having that little roundtable discussion and they are complaining about doing their job, I kind of appreciated it, and I'll tell you why. How many times were you promised something when you were on a ship? You're like, hey, if you guys do this, then we get a 72-hour liberty, or we're not going to get underway, or whatever it is. Hey, what do you know, guys? We couldn't do that. And so I think you're not going to hear it from the captain. He's not going to complain. But I think hearing some complaining about having to go out when you weren't expecting, or you were told you were done for the day or whatever, I kind of appreciated that a little bit myself. But I get what you're saying. For purposes of the movie, hey, this is your job, man. If you're a rescue ship, you don't get to pick when somebody needs rescuing, you know? So you're right. But I do appreciate the complaining just a little bit. One thing I would like, what about Sam Neill? What you got?
How buff is that dude? When he busts out of that stasis chamber, yeah, he's looking cut.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, Dr. Grant popping out of there, like, shirtless. I was like, oh my God, easy, big fella.
Hey, you don't pull Ellie Sadler for nothing, man. I mean, that's just, Laura Dern does not knock on every door. I'm just letting you know, man. But
he did not look like in my head, like he's kind of a wiener dude, you know? And then he came out, he popped out of that thing, and I was like,
he's a nerd, and you don't expect a nerd to have a nice body.
Well, I don't want to use the words nice body either. I'd say he came out of there looking fairly stacked.
I'll tell you this, he laid off the high fructose corn syrup lifetime.
He probably did. He's probably living his best healthy life. But let me back up just a little bit. So when we get, everybody gets out of stasis, we find out that he's had a nightmare. What I would like to thank our director for is, yes, it's 1997 when it's made, and it's 2047, so we're 50 years in the future. One thing he made sure to keep alive was sexual harassment in the workplace, because one of the first lines from Richard T. Jones, I believe, is, "Hey, would you like something hot and black in you?" And I mean, it's good that, like I said, we're still allowed to sexually harass even in outer space. I think it's great.
I was probably disappointed with how low-hanging fruit that was, like, and how it was just there. I was like, they didn't even try. They just wanted to make sure that somebody got to say something stupid. Like,
always funny though.
I mean, it doesn't work. It's not a joke I can use, So
I like them bringing up. We got about 20 hours of breathable air. Every time we breathe, the CO2 levels rise, and I was like, just like Apollo 13. Okay, let's do it.
We haven't gotten there yet, but you're right.
We did.
No, we haven't. Not yet. We haven't. You haven't even let me go off on my complaints yet. I mean, you're already complaining about future complaints. But anyway, I also like that we've got centerfolds hanging around the crew's mess. It's okay.
Centerfolds.
They've got magazines in the future. Don't even. I mean,
that was one of my things. Was like, he's got that like Claire shrine too, with all the photos and stuff. I was like,
there's a lot of pictures. Yeah,
there's a lot of like media paper material in the future for some reason, and I did not like. Why would that still be a thing?
Because it's easy, I don't have to invent any technology as I'm sitting here writing this.
True.
We all know now, 25 years later, we don't, nobody's going to the photo mat anymore. I don't know anybody that still really buys a whole lot of magazines. If they do, they're on their iPad or whatever.
I don't think we're going to make it to Neptune in the next 25 years either.
No, I don't see it happening. So
I think it takes 25 years to get there.
We had some high hopes.
it took them like 47 days, man. So I mean, that was pretty impressive.
PlayStation on Saturn.
What's that?
I said we're getting there though. Like I made notes about that like with the opening, and they said, 2015 was colonization of the moon, and then
Yeah.
Kind of looking at where we're at, we're like 10 years out or so, maybe from the proposed Mars colony experiment and stuff like that, or they're starting to figure out that plan. So like we're on a adjusted timeline. I guess we're getting there.
Yeah, and you're right. It's we're right here on the cusp, I guess you'd say, of the Artemis launch. So we're heading that way.
Yeah.
So we think. But I did take issue with one thing. I mean, they're all the way, they're heading out to Neptune, they're there. And yet that's when you get Lawrence Fishburne, Captain Miller. And he's telling you, hey, the last, we've never attempted a rescue this deep. And then a few moments later, the last time we attempted a rescue this deep, we lost both ships. It's like, hey, which is it, man? Have we never done it, or have we just never done it successfully?
No, I just took that as that crew specifically.
And you know what? That's probably a better way. Yeah, that's why we have you here.
You're welcome. I did hate his chair though, the captain's chair. Like
it was, I don't know. And it was
weird.
Like the back.
Like that wasn't futuristic. He looked so uncomfortable.
Did it make sense to be suspended from the top?
No.
Especially in a spaceship, like you would still figure.
Seemed like he'd just be jostling around all the time. Like nothing. That was a weird choice.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it either. I really didn't like that either. Another thing that bothered me, and I mean, I get it. Some things are done movie time. We're going to do it because we think it looks good on screen or whatever the case. They finally make it to where they're going, and they got to head towards Neptune, and they're in the atmosphere part ways. And they keep this whole proximity thing. We're getting closer and closer and closer to the ship. Why in the hell aren't you slowing down, man?
Yeah,
I mean,
that part pissed me off.
Even in 97, we had radar. We can navigate through fog. I mean, what in the hell, man?
Oops.
So I don't know. It was like, hey, let's have this exciting thing that's not very exciting. Whatever. And this is what leads me to my next complaint. Then we get our glimpse of the event horizon. And it's massive.
Yeah.
Why? Why is this thing so big? Why? What the deal? Because we bring up, and I got some toys from my childhood for some perspective here.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Just show us your penis compared to a regular man's.
Well, that's. I mean, you can take it wherever you want to take it. So here you have a Cylon Raider, from Battlestar Galactica. This is the event horizon. Like, this is it, right? Here you have Thunderbird 4, and that's the Lewis and Clark. Like, why in the hell is this necessary? Why does this have to be so friggin' massive?
What was the original ship for?
What? The event horizon?
Space exploration.
Yeah, what was it for? Was it just to hold people?
We skipped over that a little bit. It was to because this is when he uses the centerfold to poke holes in there, and that's my fault.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he tells us the whole purpose, because they all say, "Oh, the event horizon, you're lying. We know what happened to that ship." Like, and it's just presented like it's, the Gerald Ford's sunk. Everybody knows what that is.
But if it's just like a research ship to test this theory of folding space and time or whatever, why on earth does it have to be that big?
It doesn't.
Okay,
and
that's what I was. That was what I was confused about.
Can I just say that I love when they explain the Rosenberg Bridge with a piece of paper? I fucking love that every single time they do that.
Yeah.
It's a good, and you know what? I'm sorry I skipped over it because it is good. It's simple, and it makes a simpleton like me. I understand it. Okay, I got it.
Fold space. Excellent.
How many movies has that been used in?
At least like between 5 and 7.
Yeah. I don't know.
So the other thing that bothers me ever so slightly, so they slow down.
The whole time with you telling us what you're sad about.
It is, man. And what's really going to blow your mind is when we get to the end of this thing and I give my rating for
Yeah,
it.
no.
So, but they are like, okay, fine. We've come to the main airlock. Got it. And they bring on Dr. Weir as the expert because he designed this thing. Okay, clamp on to that antenna or whatever that we have no explanation of what it is other than the engineer telling us don't do it. And they do it anyway and clamp onto part of the ship, crushing it. Why? I don't know. No clue. But hey, we did it, right?
Yeah.
So
go
fast
ship adrift anyways. Who cares? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, what's the point, man? But, you know, then they have this weird, I don't know, it's like a dog penis that comes out of the front of the Lewis and Clark.
Umbilicus.
The docking apparatus, yeah.
Yeah, sure, whatever you want to call it. I'll call it a dog penis. And they're in the, what... This is where
the
we
actual
get
name in the movie. It was called the umbilicus. Because I started cracking up because it's like an umbilical cord that they're, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
And you know what?
I'm so excited you remembered that word.
Yeah, me too.
Somebody who's smarter than me would probably be like, hey, there's some symbolism there. I'm not going to try and do it. But, so we kind of get this thing that Dr. Weir's like, I got to get on the ship. I got to get on the ship. I got to get on the ship. Fishburne tells him, no, I need you here to guide us. I'm not really sure how much guidance he provided, at least what we see on screen, because they get inside. His guidance is, yeah, that's the main corridor.
Yeah.
Thanks, Doc. Appreciate you. Man, glad we brought you along. Like, what is this all about? And they have magnetic boots. All right, so we're going to explain the gravity thing. And this is where you get your Chekhov's gun, right? You know, if you show it in the first act, you have to use it in the third act. Yeah. Hey, what's this blinking thing? Oh, well, those are explosives. Thanks again, engineer, because it says it on the damn box. Explosive. Yeah. So, you know, that way they can blow that corridor and use the front end of the ship as a lifeboat. Okay, got it. Which will come into play later. So they're walking around and it's like, yeah, I see some blood at some point. You're like, some blood? The whole fucking ship is covered in blood. Like the whole thing. But fine, whatever. What's his name? Jack Noseworthy. Justin. He's the new guy, engineer, whatever he is.
The young guy.
You take engineering. You guys are a crack freaking rescue, and you're going to send the new guy off by himself. All right, fine, no problem. And this is another complaint. He goes back into the engineering section through the time tunnel, meat grinder, whatever the thing. Like, what is the purpose of that? Oh, that contains the whole field. Oh, okay. And we accept it. Why? Because the audience is dumb. That's why.
Yeah.
But
the movie was almost like there could have been like multiple times that we like went into 3D. Like there's like a time when like a pair of pliers flies by, and if that was in 3D, I feel, you know, but this is 97, and they would, but that scene there with all those the magnetic field that kept the I guess the integrity of the drive they were using to fold time and space. Yeah,
if for some reason had to have water around it as well. Who knows? I don't know. Sure, but you know why the rotating thing? Yeah, to not compromise the magnetic field. That's our Dr. Weir who designed it. He had to have the funhouse thing. I mean, that's the only way you could possibly do it. Okay, sure. Yeah, I accept it. Furthermore, hey, the other part of the team, they're going up forward to investigate, search for live survivors, all this and that and the other. What are they using? It's 2047. They're still using CDs and DVDs. That's what they're using.
Yeah, I saw that.
No, they're not. No, they're not. But hey, whatever. Right?
It's a form of digital media, so it's futuristic enough, I guess. You know.
Yeah, it was probably a rewritable one, which was novel in '97.
Look at the kind of tapes.
Well, see,
look at
okay,
the kind of tapes we're using in the Navy.
They spent so much energy and time making sure that you get to all these planets that they couldn't make good chairs. They couldn't make good media. Like that stuff was unimportant. Space exploration was so important that they just bypassed all of those, aesthetic things, really.
Yeah. And I get also what's the giggling? I get some, they're not going to spend a lot of time in a movie doing some things because why? Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a means to an end, But the other thing that gets me is this is a crack squad, right? They're the only ones that we can trust to save this thing that's been gone for 7 years. When the portal opens, what does our crack squad do? Well, he immediately sticks his hand in it because why wouldn't you? Why would you not do that?
Always. Especially in space.
It's like checking for a fire on the other side of a hatch with your hand. You just grab the knob. Yeah, it's hot in there.
Yeah.
And now you just burned all this. That's it. Just an enlisted sailor.
Justin is not very quick, not very smart. He gets sucked into we don't know yet, but he's sucked into the black hole, right? I say we don't know because we haven't had it explained to us. Then, all hell breaks loose, so to speak. Why is it in this movie and in so many others, whenever something happens on a ship, there are sparks galore? I mean, it is like 4th of July, and there's just like 18,000 sparklers being tossed. This thing gets bumped, and there are sparks flying on all these ships. Drives me bonkers.
That brings up another observation.
How are there sparks in space?
Well, they had atmosphere.
Yeah.
At this point.
Oh, they had atmosphere now.
Yeah, they got atmosphere now, dude. Come on, don't question this. This is some crack writing.
But yeah,
what do you got?
Where is it? I had, it's funny. Why do spacemen always smoke, but no real astronauts ever do? It's like every space movie, there's somebody's always smoking, whether it's in Aliens, this movie, like everything. There's always a guy that's like smoking.
And
like
you know what?
A finite, like contained apparatus, an environment. Yeah, I'll just smoke because cool. Let's fuck it.
It's interesting you bring that up because even in the late 90s, and maybe that was part of I'm going to make a statement. We were taking smoking out of a lot of buildings and all this and that and the other. And there's a lot of smoking on here. You're right. The doctor's the one that's smoking.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever, right?
Well, he's sharing cigarettes with the captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's
like
what
giving him
do.
shorts. Like, what are you doing? Smoke your own cigarette.
Hey, man, their rations are limited. Okay.
Those come in MREs. Those are space MREs. They come with cigarettes.
Oh.
I didn't see any cooks. There were no cooks on board, so were they not eating? Nobody ate in this movie. Nobody took a shit. Nothing.
There are a lot of things missing, and then there are a lot of things.
You only had 20 hours of air.
Yeah, 20 hours of breathable air, and the next thing I hear is, they make that statement, and Lawrence Fishburne goes, "Well, we got to get something done in the next 17 hours." I was like, "Fuck, 3 hours has already gone by off of that 20." And then the next thing I know, 3 lines later, we're down to 10 hours, and I was like, "Okay, this movie's moving now." So, all right, finally, shit, they're about to die.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, it does move quickly. It's only 90 some odd minutes, and it does move fairly quickly.
Can I stop you?
Yeah, I guess.
I got to go on a misdirection here about all these timelines that these movies give us. We only got 20 hours. This bomb's going to explode in 3 minutes. And I just want to see them able to just like, all right, you got 20 hours. All right, hey, we're done. 15 hours to spare and take off. Or they disarm the fucking bomb like right away. Like, oh, this thing's going to explode in 3 minutes. All right, let's just cut this wire. Bam. Okay, we're good.
I've been doing this for 23 years.
Yeah.
It's pretty standard now.
And they're always asking, blue or red? Blue or red? And then they say red, and then they switch to blue at the last minute, and they save everybody. And you're like, okay. All right. Oh, we got 20 hours, and we're only going to make it by 7 seconds, maybe, out of the 20 hours.
You got to have the drama, man. You got to have the drama. I mean,
Whenever it's
where's
like a timer under 10 minutes, I keep time with my phone to see how long 10 minutes passes.
I always look at the clock real quick.
I'm always
Yeah,
like,
you gonna
let's
play with
see.
me?
Let's see, is it really 10 minutes? Is it really 20 minutes? Or is it really like 5 minutes? So I'm always messing with that stuff.
Fast and Furious drove that quarter mile in the first movie out to like a minute and a half scene for a
a 10-second
under
car,
20-second race.
got a 10-second car, and then next thing you know, here we are. It's a 5-minute scene.
So,
hey, look, man. That
I was like,
that
they're
guy
all the
died.
way in.
Damn it.
They're already through downtown Los Angeles by now. That is-
With this, I'm gonna take issue with a few other things here. So I don't know if you guys remember the E Network,
yeah.
E Entertainment Television.
It's still around.
Yeah.
It is still around. You're right. But back in '97, they would actually do specials and stuff about the making of movies. It wasn't just about who Kim Kardashian was blowing, you know. And I remember watching one about this movie, and I'm gonna complain about the way the ship is designed, but it was done on purpose. Like, you go in that gravity drive thing. Why in the hell are those spikes all over the place? What purpose does that serve other than to look menacing? It's like we're inside some medieval mace or something turned inward. But they talked to the set design folks. They actually copied like the archways, like whatever the angle is or the curvature from Notre Dame, because they thought it was medieval looking and they thought it was unsettling. And the shades of green they used, they're like, find me the most uncomfortable shade of green, put that up there.
Seafoam green.
And which I was going to say, clearly they have not been on a real ship and seen seafoam green, which is what they should have done instead of whatever shade they wind up using. But bringing it back a little bit, after Justin's brush with whatever, because they have no idea, he's saved by our resident sexual harasser, Mr. Cooper, grabs him out of nowhere.
He's also the only black guy and the only comic.
Lawrence
relief, right?
Fishburne's like.
Oh
black.
yeah, no.
Yeah,
Well,
he's the captain.
I mean, way to be dismissive of the captain.
Yeah, there's two. There's Samuel L. Jackson was not in this one.
No, he was not. He was getting ready to make Deep Blue Sea.
He might be recasted.
It could be when we get to that point. So he, Richard Jones, I'm sorry, he's explaining what he saw and what happened. And at that point, then old Dr. Weir is like, nope, impossible. Nope, is just completely dismissing everybody. Oh, I've seen this, I've seen that. No, you didn't. No way. No, you didn't. In denial about the whole thing. But nevertheless, our new guy is catatonic, basically. He's laid up on a whatever in their surgical bay, which is another thing I'm going to take issue with. What the hell, man? I mean, they've got some sort of medieval torture surgical bay. All the tools are still laid out. I mean, it's like a morgue. They're on stainless steel tables with drains in them and everything. Whatever. I mean,
another
there was
thing.
Nothing futuristic about the medicine.
Another thing about
like the Civil War.
It was
down to the apparatus.
Bone saws.
Yeah.
Yeah, in any of these movies throughout history, when the medical personnel or the evil person, anytime they have to administer shots, it's always like in the neck. Like, no, you can get that in the bloodstream anywhere. You got blood all over your body. You can put that
Find a vein there, Corman.
Which, and he's right. And what our esteemed colleague is bringing up here is the crew kind of starts to turn on themselves a little bit, like pretty quickly. And there's a fight that ensues from the other. I can't remember the character's name. I apologize. Why? Because he's not important. Nonetheless, he's going after Dr. Weir. Like it's a full on, I'm going to get you, yada, yada, yada. The doctor grabs a scalpel straight for the old neck and gives him some, whatever. Almost as if he was possessed.
Wasn't that
Almost.
Alfred, or not Alf, but I call him Alfred because he played Alfred in Gotham. I think that was the.
Oh, yeah.
Which guy are we talking about?
Smitty.
The one that had the.
They all look
engineer.
the same to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
They all looked the
Yeah.
same and sounded the same.
Yeah, all the
They're
white
all
guys
white
just
guys
look
with
the
the
same.
same hairdo.
That's
I know who
racist.
Jason Isaacs is. He was the doctor.
Yep.
I know him. He's been in a million movies.
He's in Star Trek too. Yeah.
I should have watched it at least 3 times in order so I could remember which one was the doctor and which one was the murdery one and which one was the other that was like more of an explosive guy.
Yeah. Well, there was 2 doctors really
Yeah.
too, because you had like the ship doctor, then you had
Right.
Isaacs was the trauma surgeon guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Trauma guy. Then you had
Yeah.
Kathleen Quinlan, who's the medical tech.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
So Justin, the guy who played, what's his name? Jack Noseworthy
That's him.
and Kathleen Quinlan. I don't know what they did if the movie Breakdown
Yeah.
was filmed like next door. And they just said, "Hey, we need 2 actors for this movie too," and they just walked next door and did that one because it was like made at the same that time.
I
Hey,
love
you
that
too.
movie too.
Yeah.
It's an
Come
awesome
over.
movie.
It could have been. That is a good one. That is a good one. But bringing it back to the movie we're talking about. So at this point, people are having visions. People start to have visions. So Kathleen Quinlan, she sees her kid, hears her kid, well, a kid. We don't know it's her kid. At least I don't think we do. And they had alluded to her being like the mama character earlier when she's talking about no playing ball in the house, yada, yada, yada. Basically being a stick in the mud. Then Fishburne, so I feel like I'm missing something here because there's a fail-safe circuit. Fine, whatever. Maybe one of the fail-safe circuits. Dr. Weir crawls through the tunnel of green
The
frickin'
Matrix.
Yeah, as in
circuit board,
the
I
Matrix
guess. I don't know.
Jeffries tubes. Yeah.
I liken it to like troubleshooting CWIS. When you get inside, that's what it's
He
like.
was in there, and the lights start flickering. He finds a circuit card, and it's it's fuzzing out. Whatever. Lights go out. Lawrence Fishburne sees fire and all this and that and the other. Says he feels heat, and that's how he knows it was real. And that's why they're all like, "Yes, these are real things that are happening to us. It's not in my head. Could be in my head. I felt heat. Whatever is what it is." So after they had their little fight and Jason Isaacs breaks it up, they've got to fix the Lewis and Clark. They're on a freaking 20-hour. Now we're at 17 hours, whatever it is. The XO is Jolie Richardson. She has a theory, right? She knows what's going on. At least she thinks she does. The ship's alive. That explains it, because that's the first place you'd go, right? These things are happening. The ship's alive.
Where all the blood's going.
It's not the readings. I totally bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The readings, the life form readings were off the charts.
Off the charts. Bioscan.
And so,
sounds way better.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we move forward a little bit, and the bioscan readings jump off the charts again, and old Justin starts convulsing. More sparks. Apparently, that's what they loaded this ship up with, was damn sparklers. More sparks flying everywhere.
It's like an 80s heavy metal video. There's just a factory of sparks.
Yeah.
It's like Def Leppard and Motley Crue are doing a reunion, and it's just showering. Or maybe it's AEW Dynamite. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're actually playing a concert together right now on tour. Def Leppard and Motley Crue.
Holy Christ. You say it
That is
here,
true.
it happens out there. What is going on?
Poison, Joan Jett.
Yeah, they came to Kansas City a couple weeks ago. Yeah, the day I remember that. I didn't go.
I would like you to know, Joe, that I still use your joke to this day with what has 9 arms and sucks. To this day, still use your joke any chance I get.
What is the ending of that joke?
Def Leppard. That's the ending of that joke.
Oh.
Because they have a one-armed
The drummer from Def Leppard only has one arm. The Bloodhound Gang.
Yeah.
She's got to know that he had when people ask me what's your favorite Def Leppard album, and I was like, it's a toss up between Pyromania and Hysteria. And they're like, how do you decide? If I like 2-arm drumming or 1-arm drumming.
And it doesn't change. The sound doesn't change, which lets you know it's like.
There's another joke I use whenever like a girl tells me where she's from. She'll be like, "Oh, I'm from Des Moines, Iowa." I said, "You know what? Des Moines, Iowa girls ain't trash, because trash gets picked up."
That's a good one.
That online?
Good one. All right. Okay.
Against a sports team or something.
So coming back to Event Horizon, you know what? You give Joe a little compliment. The next thing you know, we're on a 10-minute tangent. So more sparks are flying. Dr. Weir, he's a little bit possessed in this whole thing, right? Justin decides, you know what? I'm going to get in the airlock because why not? I don't want to be in this movie anymore. I've had it.
Yeah. So, I gotta go reshoot Breakdown.
Yeah,
Some
they called me
reshoots.
back. I was done. It said done filming. I got to do reshoots for Breakdown. Kurt Russell demanded another take, but so he gets in the freaking airlock. Alarm start. They're trying to talk him down, and he starts talking about some craziness. It shows you shows you the darkness inside you, all this and that and the other, and you're like, all right, fine, whatever. So. Where am I at? At that point, there should have been some sort of an epileptic warning, I think, because the strobes are just going bananas through this whole thing.
Yeah.
Very unsettling. And the alarm goes off for the door. Lawrence Fishburne is poised to make this dramatic recovery in space, which, again, we just accept that this is how you do it because they're a crack team. He's asking them to open the door. They can't do it. The door starts to, the pressure is going away. He lifts up. Veins are popping. His eyes are bleeding. It's fantastic.
He snaps out of his comatose state.
Snaps out of his coma thing really quickly when the alarm starts going off, which makes you wonder why that didn't work for the rest of the crew. But hey, whatever. We'll get there when we get there. Long story short, they bring him back. He's not completely dead. He's just pretty effed up. So he's our first victim, if you will, even though he ain't dead. They put him in another one of those tubes, keep him alive, make him do his thing. At some point, there was a recording from the crew, and we hear some Latin.
Yeah, we heard it before.
We heard it before all of this.
They
We heard
went
it
on
before
board.
all of it.
Something
which is yet another complaint that I meant to bring up earlier. There's a little bit of Latin, liberate me. We think he says liberate me, right?
Yeah.
Well, you've got the technology to build a goddamn black hole, and you've got the technology to get to Neptune, but nobody can decipher Latin. And you
That's
have
what
a
I wrote
computer
down.
with the computing power to decipher Latin.
I was like, none of these scientists can figure out what liberate me means.
I mean, hey, whatever, man. We're getting
Only
there,
scientists
right?
they get that message and they say like, we haven't been able to decipher yet, and then some random EMS is like, sounds like Latin. Hold on. Yeah. Oh yeah. Save.
Even though all scientists are the only ones that use Latin to this day.
Well, it would, if they would have had a lawyer, he could have done it too. But yeah, they need a lawyer or a doctor to decipher the Latin.
There's not a single person that heard this recording of the distress signal. It had been shared 100,000 times between NSA and all this shit, and nobody said that's Latin, dude, except for the goddamn EMT that they've got. Shotgun.
Should have been in the pass down log before they went on this mission.
Yeah.
Turns out that all the great minds on Earth, we've just forgotten about it. It's a dead language.
Well, I mean, Latin is a dead language, but thank God straight razors and CDs are not.
Well, I mean, if they would have said that it sounds like ancient Sumerian, I'd have been like, all right, nobody knows that.
All right.
Could be Sanskrit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But you know what? Hey, man, I've I've been to movies where they've heard things, you know, look at Star Trek and they hear whale song and nobody has any idea. I mean, we have to go back in time because we can't have a computer that can simulate whale song to talk to these aliens. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't pull it off in the, you know, the Star Trek the original Star Trek generation. Can't do it.
Yeah.
We just can't do it. So I totally
2 or
accept
3,
that
the
nobody
whale
knows what
movies.
Latin, except for
Written language, and then I mean whale song. That's I could that's more believable because it's like a natural, unpracticed.
hey man, whatever gets you there, I guess.
All right.
You know, I'm still gonna complain about it.
I understood.
Yeah.
But so once we get through all that and all the sparks and this and that and the other, during all that, not during but after, Dr. Weir gets possessed again. Do you guys remember the banging and the noise on the door? And Weir's like, he hears somebody say, "Open the door." And we get a great scene with the XO, Jolie Richardson. She turns Steven Seagal and she puts him in some kind of a wrist lock. And I don't know if she learned that from McCombs and Goff or whatever, but frickin' takes him down to the ground. Like, no, you stop right there.
We almost lost the man out there.
Exactly. You know what? Force protection. It ain't no joke. But that's when we get a little more like Dr. Weir. I don't know, man. What's going on here? This guy, he's denying everything, even when it's right in front of his face. And he's wanting to let the monster in. A little bit of foreshadowing for about 4 minutes before it actually happens. But so at this point, now we're down and 4 hours. We got 4 hours until our air is toxic, people. So that's it. That's what we're doing. There we go. Then we start to figure it out somewhat. And he gets confronted, he being Captain Miller, Lawrence Fishburne, he confronts this Burning Man. You know, why did you leave me? Yada, 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 yada. They figure out the ship knows your fears. They know, it knows what haunts you. But at some point during all this, we get a little bit of that rewritable CD gets deciphered. And we kind of see what happened to the crew a little bit. And it's a lot of blood and screaming and I got your eyes and bring them up to the camera and all this and that and the other. Which I feel worth noting that there's about 30 minutes of this movie that was cut at some point, no pun intended. And a lot of that was in that scene, at least from what I've been told. And apparently it was like a murder orgy that was going on during that whole thing. And that scene was much longer and more graphic. At least that's what we're led to believe by the internet. So Anderson said there's no version of that still exists. Again, in 2022, I find that hard to believe. But at that point, even the smartest man on Neptune has to admit that he's wrong. He has misinterpreted Liberate Me. No.
Yeah.
It's actually, and I wrote it down, Liberate Tuta Me. It's not save me, it's save yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was our
And then
motto
there's a little
when we were in
more-
the yards that summer.
Yeah. There's a little more to it, and I couldn't catch it. I'm sorry. I'm not that good with Latin. 2 years of high school Latin in South Carolina didn't do it. But it's save yourself from hell.
Yeah.
That's what he gets out of there. No computer could pull it off, but the smartest man on Neptune could pull it off.
Yeah.
So we're led to believe now that the ship basically it went to hell for 7 years. Going back to my poster board, that's our first trip to hell. So, yes. So there you go. At that point, he sees it. He being Captain Miller, Lawrence Fishburne, he's like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm done with this ship. I'm done. It's over. We're gonna take off. We're gonna load everybody on. Or Let me back up. We're going to load everybody onto the Lewis and Clark. We're going to take off and we're going to launch TAC missiles, whatever the hell those are. We're going to launch those until I am satisfied the event horizon is destroyed. Which makes me ask, why in the hell does a rescue ship have weapons on board to destroy ships?
Space pirates. There's always space pirates.
Space pirates
Yeah.
could have been ice pirates. Maybe Robert Urich. I don't know.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it's a writing device. I get it because Weir is he's pleading. No, you can't do it. Ship's not going to let you leave anyway. So he fades into the darkness, you know, like he's gone, he's had it, he's out of here. Now he says he's home. He's home, right? So we get some scenes borrowed from other movies. You know, he's like, hey, go, the captain's telling him, get ready to get out of here. For whatever reason, they're taking the scrubbers out, which I never saw them put into the event horizon. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
No, they didn't need to because remember the puncture in the Lewis and Clark was what caused them to go onto a limited air supply. Then Dr.
right.
Weir was like the event horizon has like functional life support or whatever because
you're right. You're absolutely right. So you know what? I'll leave that complaint alone. But we get a scene. It's basically like Alien.
That's why we have this movie club.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you have Alien, and they're pulling air scrubbers out, which is the same thing they were doing at the end of Alien. They're going back to the area you would not go back to engineering. Apparently, that's where all these damn scrubbers are. And at that point, Kathleen Quinlan Peters, I wrote her name down. Peters hears her son and takes off after her son because he's running away. We've seen him once before. He's in a wheelchair. His legs are all messed up. I don't know. We can
What's
make it.
wrong with them? Does anyone know?
They don't say. They don't say.
No.
I don't think he had like lesions and shit all over him or something. Like, I was
He,
like, I
he
don't know
did
what
have
this
some
is.
kind of scabby thing. At 2047, they didn't have the technology to repair it. Can't help you. Sorry.
Probably space
But
pox.
because we spent all our. But she goes chasing him. He basically tricks her. She plummets to her death. Hey, it happens, right?
Yeah.
Almost, I'm not going to say simultaneously, but right around this time, Dr. Weir, and this is again for you, Joe, because we're at that 1 hour, 8 minute mark. This is where you see both breasts. It's his wife. She takes his eyes from him, and then, you know, there's a jump cut, and he actually pulls his own eyes out. Is what it is. But Dr. Weir, say again?
Did you buy a piece of poster board just to write on there when we get to see boobs?
You didn't see my poster board?
I did.
Bring
I
it back?
did. No. But I mean, you went out and you're like, I got this. I'm going to break this down by the numbers. All right,
There's probably a way to do it electronically on here. I'm just not that smart. So I was also trying to show off. I was trying to show off my
old pen and paper Herchel.
I was this close to writing it down.
Golly, man. But anyway, so you know his eyes are gone, which leads to one of my best lines, one of my favorite lines in the movie when we get to that point. And then, and this is that part of that Chekhov's gun. They're prepping the ship to Lewis and Clark, and Dr. Weir is seen leaving the Lewis and Clark from the rear. We see him from the rear. And the captain is talking to Smitty, and he happens to be right where Weir took one of the explosives from the event horizon, has transferred it over to the Lewis and Clark. Long story short, Lewis and Clark gets destroyed by one of the explosives from the event horizon. So Smitty is technically number 3 victim because Peters is dead now too.
Yeah.
Our resident sexual harasser gets blown off the Lewis and Clark. He's blown off of a chunk, and you know he's flying
he was
out
doing
in
repairs outside. Yeah.
He was finishing up repairs on the hull, blah, 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 blah. and we get to see him do some Iron Man before Iron Man was a thing. But it, again, he's kind of borrowing from another movie right around the same time. If you saw Space Cowboys, Tommy Lee Jones using, little rocket pack deals, makes his way back to the ship, right?
This has been done a lot in movies.
A lot, man. So, and this is another thing, and it's like I don't understand the rules. I love horror movies, but I don't understand the rules all the time. But hey, whatever. He's off on his own little world, his world being the Event Horizon, and now he's superhuman. Like he can pick people up and throw them around instead of just killing them for whatever reason. He keeps them around to have some discussion. I do really enjoy the scene where they're on the bridge there and they've got this medieval looking Nerf gun, rivet gun deal that now Fishburne is going to use as a weapon. Puts it down once he sees his XO on the ground. Weir's in the captain's chair, and it spins around. That chair I kind of liked. I didn't like the captain's chair. I agree with Sabrina on that one. That chair sucked on the Lewis and Clark. But the one on the Event Horizon, that one was okay. And he's ripped his eyes out. We see it now. Where we're going, we don't need eyes. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I don't know why it's great, but I still liked it.
I think the line is, if you open your mind to me, you won't rely on open eyes to see.
Oh, look at this guy.
That's a little Queensryche. Okay. Silent lucidity.
Wow. So, Captain Miller, he's on a mission here. And right around the time, again, out of convenience, that he needs to get there, that's when the sexual harasser shows up, bumps into the windshield. Why they need this thing on this ship? Well, apparently they do, because their radar sucks, and they almost had a collision earlier. So they do need to be able to see out. There you go. Explain that one away. Write it down. But he fires his Nerf rivet gun, breaking the glass, and he's superhuman, right?
Yeah.
However, he gets sucked out. He can't stop himself. This thing is ripped. The explosive decompression rips bolts out, and it's ripping his chair out.
Yeah, like half the crew,
Fishburne and Richardson
hanging on to.
Like they're just hanging on. He's superhuman. He can't hang on. And this is another one. Like I don't get it. Why? Yeah. But hey, again, whatever. It's not going to affect my rating.
So that he could scare him later.
Well, and you're right. And you're absolutely right. It's so that we can have he's gone now, but is he?
Yeah.
So he's gone now, but is he?
He let himself go on purpose.
That's probably, you know what? Good point. Good point. See, she read the book. But Fishburne, the blast doors or whatever are closing, and Fishburne blocks it. He's like, I'm not losing another person. I'm not doing it. I'm not losing another person. Yeah. Saves his XO. Good job.
Right.
Way to go.
Story that only he knew about losing the shipmate on the boat, which is how he got on board with there's weird shit going on here.
Yeah.
Not all the other stuff beforehand, but when that happened, it's like, okay, now I'm in.
And no, you're right. You bring up a great point, and I'm glad you bring that up, because that's how they know it knows what scares you. It knows intimate details that nobody else would know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this is another one, and I mean, I don't know. I guess it's because we had tools and stuff out on every ship. I'm sure you guys remember. But something's coming in the airlock. They assume it's going to be Dr. Weir for a jump scare. They're grabbing these, Halligan and bolt cutters, which what the hell they need bolt cutters on that ship for? I have no idea. But nevertheless, they're going to defend themselves.
When you lose the combination to your rack locker.
Yeah. Space locks.
Right. Hey, those are supposed to be locked up, man. Them bolt cutters, only the MA's got them.
Yes, rationalizing all of the plot quirks.
Look, man, it's what we do here.
We want it
But,
to be good so bad.
Well, that's because it is good. Deep down, it is. Deep down, it is good.
Yeah, you guys might be surprised with my rating too. Then it's gonna be pretty high.
Well, but so this is again our whole Chekhov's gun here, right? Now we're gonna do the thing that we talked about at the very beginning of the movie. We're gonna use the explosives, and they even give us a little cartoon thing, like, okay, thanks for drawing it out. Like I couldn't have figured it out, but hey, fine, got it. Which, why was it necessary for that corridor to be so long? I don't know, but it was.
Maybe it was like a given the technology and everything of the experimental propulsion drive, they wanted like a safe distance away. That would be about the only thing I could think of.
No, a bunch of cheese were like, we're still gonna make these motherfuckers run their PRT.
It could have been that too.
Which is a good point, and they could easily dismiss the treadmill thing since we're using archaic technology to shave with. So yeah, you're right. They probably
I'll tell you, based off of the amount of space Dr. Weir had when crawling through the Matrix tunnel, I think you need your guys in tip-top shape. You're not really going to be out there with certain TM1s or anything.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point too.
Because
but,
I mean, that
we already get to the end.
We are very near the end. I gather you're not a big fan of this one, but that's okay.
Did Dr. Weir do something?
We're
I want to talk
there.
about Dr. Weir.
We're getting there. So long and the short of it, you know what? He's going to set the explosives off. He being Miller, old Lawrence Fishburne, he's going to save the day like he couldn't do however many years ago this Burning Man thing happened. So he finds himself back in the old gravity drive, right? He's set the timers on all the explosives, which has some weird clicker.
Dead man switch,
for
whatever.
lack of a, dead man switch or remote detonator, whatever. I don't know why you'd need it. Apparently the wiring on that ship sucks.
Or was it an override maybe?
Could have been. I don't think it was an override once we get to the very end there because it gets utilized. I don't know, man. You know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
I
feel
just
like it was
accept
explained though, possibly. Like,
it might have been, and I just wasn't listening.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible. But he goes back there, and this is another part of the movie I take issue with. I haven't taken issue with a whole lot up to this point, but this is another part I take issue with. He gets in there, fire blocks his way. He's got to go into the black hole room. More fire. The guy that he couldn't save, a bosun's mate, mind you. Turns out it's Weir in taking the form of this guy. And the ship has pulled him back. I didn't like that part. I really didn't care for that part. I get the whole Weir was into the whole thing and he never wanted to leave. Whatever. That is my biggest heartache with the whole thing. Ship brought me back. I'm home. This is where I got to be.
And I'm also a shapeshifter now.
Yeah, and now and his eyes are back. Even though he doesn't need them where they're going, his eyes are back.
I think that's from Back to the Future when they ask, we don't have enough road. He goes, where we're going, we don't need roads. So he said, we'll just switch it to eyes.
Where we're going, we won't need eyes.
I didn't learn to see until I met a blind man.
Did the ship just like choose him? Like the ship knew that it needed a human being to bring other human beings to it?
Maybe. Because he does talk about now that the ship has a new crew. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Like it somehow was in him already and the ship convinced him to get this rescue team out there.
Matters,
but
he had to convince a lot of people at USAC, and that's not easy. But maybe I don't know.
Nobody wanted to do this mission.
I thought about that like that too.
Because they were all going.
You try sending a chit up USAC's chain of command. See what happens.
Right.
Well, it's also
Exactly.
7 years old. Like, what are they going to recover? There's nothing out there.
Yeah.
You know,
They
I don't know.
tried to
Then
pull this
there's
crap
information on
holiday
a
stand
CD.
down, man. So
We don't know.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
sorry.
liked Dr. Weir when he came back as the Burning Man. Then he comes out, he's got all those like red cuts all over him and stuff. And I was like, what is he? Is he Hellraiser now?
Right.
yeah,
And
he's
then
like Pinhead without the pins. Yeah.
so
Oh,
then
he
I
looks
looked.
super creepy and cool though.
Yeah, it was like it took some. There was most of the budget there, and then I looked it up, and it was talking about the core was supposed to be some like smooth black orb floating and had arms rotating around it. But then he wanted to pay homage to the Hellraiser puzzle box. That's why he made it look like that. And throughout some action sequence, I was thinking, I was like, at some point they had to take lunch because Robert Zemeckis had to use that soundstage for something. They're like, "Who is that? What's going on here?" And I was like, the action sequences seem it just kind of seemed like we're getting into this way too heavy, and all this stuff is all happening at once, and then it would calm down. Like it wasn't continuous. We would go off to this ending that we came to, and it was like, oh, we got an action sequence, and then it stops because we're worried about a weirdo in the other room. It was kind of weird where they decided to put the action like, is this the climax? And it was not. No, is this now the climax? And it was not. And it was like, all right, what's the climax? Is it him coming back as that Burning Man? And that's what I was wondering. I'd never seen this movie from beginning, and I have definitely seen pretty much every part though throughout my time. But I did like the core. I imagine that's what the nuke reactor looks like on an aircraft carrier.
100%. 100% it does.
All right.
But thank you for that. Let's talk, Liddy. The long and the short of it, so we'll wrap up the movie a little bit here. Dr. Weir, he grabs old Lawrence Fishburne and shows him like this weird torture chamber thing. Like, let me show you what's going on, blah, 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 or what's going to happen. And it's all his crew there being tortured, which they're already dead, but whatever. And then conveniently during this fight, which he's superhuman, he throws old Larry Fishburne right over to where he needs to be, right next to the clicker. Pretty convenient. But again, I totally accepted it because in the end, I do like the movie. So long and the short of it, he detonates the thing. This ridiculous corridor blows up 15,000 times. Pushes a lifeboat away. Gateway opens up. Black hole opens up. They get sucked in. They being Weir and, well, I guess Weir's dead. I don't know. Some version of Weir.
Yeah.
And our hero, the Captain Miller, which is Trip to Hell #2.
Yeah.
Then we're told it's 72 days later. The ones to make it out are XO, the sexual harasser, and baby boy Justin Jack Noseworthy.
Yeah.
But this is where they give us one last little jab at the audience, and it's Jolie Richardson who drops out of her hypersleep chamber, and one of the rescue people reveres himself to be Pinhead, Dr. Weir. Then she comes out of that, and nope, you're okay. She's being comforted by Richard Jones. I keep wanting to say Anderson. Damn it.
Talking about Richard Dean Anderson.
You're right, MacGyver. You're absolutely right, and it's Richard T. Jones. I apologize.
Yeah.
But anyway, and this is where we kind of get: are they safe? Are they safe? I don't know. He's telling her he's safe. They're safe. But then the doors are closing by themselves as one of the medics is calling for some sort of a sedative or backup or whatever.
To go in the neck.
Yeah, obviously. Because that's
the
the
woman
only
who's
place.
hysterical.
for a hysterical woman being a hysterical woman. But and then the end, and we get some Prodigy music over the credits.
Awesome. I listened to the whole thing.
And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
I was just thinking, like Richard T. Jones was trying to comfort, because they did have a pretty good rapport there. He's like, "You're safe, you're safe." While his hands are just going all across her breast. She's safe from the monster that was just going, but not the sexual
She's
harassment.
safe from
That will continue.
Right. She's safe from Dr. Weir, but not from something hot and black.
Yeah, Richard T. Jones. I do like him because
right at the right time.
because Andy and I are baseball fans, and his dad was the hitting coach for the Atlanta Braves and Cleveland Indians. And
Is that right?
Big Daddy Clarence Jones with a nice drippy Jerry curl over there on the first base side.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I did not know that. I did not know that.
I still don't know. What
Hey, that on that bombshell, as they would say on Top Gear.
Yeah.
That wraps up Event Horizon, the movie, at least. Again, I've picked it apart, complained about quite a bit, but we will save my my rating for this here film. But before we do our Dixie Cup ratings, any impressions of the movie going around the room? And just because you're on my screen, Mr. Mattis, how about you? Just an overall impression.
Overall impression.
Yeah.
It'd been a while since I had watched this one, and certain scenes I kind of remember stand out. Like I remember, and maybe I don't remember it specifically from this movie, or there was other movies, because it's a plot device, or not plot device, but a vehicle that's been used multiple times. Like when Richard T. Jones has to use some of his air, reserves to propel him back to the ship. I remember that fondly, and then just other bits of the movie kind of stand out. Like I was excited to revisit this film though. Like the first time I started watching it, like I had to watch it like twice that day, just because I was like tired and conked out kind of in the middle of it. As odd as that can sound, because it's a fairly riveting movie, but sometimes you're just
riveting,
wiped out. And
riveting.
Yeah,
that's a descriptor. I like it.
Yeah, but it's a good film. I was glad to revisit, and it's always interesting to see, like, especially when we're doing like the olders, the 80s, 90s movies and all that stuff, like the where were they then kind of thing. Like Richard T. Jones,
yeah,
and various things, Jason Isaacs, Sean Pertwee and stuff like that. Obviously Lawrence Fishburne's, been consistently working, but different people that, you see more recently in certain things, and they're like, oh, I didn't know they were in this kind of thing.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mattis. How about you, Mr. DeCalvel? Just an overall impression there.
I like this movie quite a bit. Yeah, I like the horror in space deal, and I think this is kind of a scary movie. There's jump scares, I guess. I mean, they're kind of corny,
yeah.
but there were multiple times I was like, oh, where I knew that I was also watching it alone in the dark. So
there's a fear of the
crying
unknown
on my cock
always
shaped
works
pillow.
well.
What kind of 40?
I was not. There was none. I ate I ate some ribs. And had a pop. What really kills me about things like this, these movies, is that these people always have to get into some sort of trouble. They always have to get into like where they're going to die, like that kind of position. Like, for example, the gal who saw her kid.
Oh,
like, you guys, it's already, everyone has talked about, and it's well established that all of this shit is in your head, feeding your worst fear ever, or what you're ashamed of, or whatever your sins are. And yet she's still like, oh shit, my kid's here, and fucking Neptune.
So
yeah,
and then she follows him into the well, or whenever she falls down, catwalk, some giant hole in the fucking ground.
So Sabrina was talking about that very thing, and the only way I could justify it in my head was that this thing is preying on your your deepest fear, and so there's that one little thing like, what if it's a 1 in a million shot, but what if your child was there? You have to go check it out, right?
Yeah, I felt it was controlling her, really. That fear was actually controlling her.
Delirious or something, then maybe, yeah. But I mean, she's not the only one here.
Well,
I mean, give me a break here, folks.
Captain was able to know that wasn't the real fire guy. Like, he was like, that was not.
Well, that's why he's the captain, and she was just medical girl.
Exactly.
He was such strong resolve. And,
He was the only one that was able to point out.
We're talking about Furious Styles here,
Yeah.
So
He had
that's
his.
something.
He knew what was up.
It's, I thought that was, they always do that, and obviously I'm not very original. That's a thought that I'm sure that everybody's always had. But just like watch this thing, I'm like, dude, everybody, you've already talked about it. You just had a meeting like 2 minutes ago explaining that these things are all figments of your imagination. And she's like, I'm just gonna follow this kid through this hole.
Yeah.
She didn't try to talk herself down or anything.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Like usually when you see something scary, like even if it's like there's a spider in your bedroom before you fall asleep, you try to convince yourself that the spider's not going to crawl into your mouth while you fall asleep. Like she didn't try to think like there's no way that can be true. She was just like, that has got to be my son and I must follow him blindly.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I don't know.
Sorry.
That I liked him. I liked him quite a bit. I had a good time watching it. Should have paid $3 to watch it.
Nobody like says what they like about it. They just say all the things that they don't like about it. But we like this movie.
It's like we're talking.
It's to me, it's really interesting. And,
I'll wait until you get to mine.
I think it's an interesting movie. There's interesting stuff going on, and but I always feel like at the end of it, I'm like, that happened like really fast, or maybe I missed something. I every time I watch this movie, I'm like, I always feel like that. Maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe but then I'm listening to you guys that also you're like bringing up damn near the same shit constantly. So I'm like, all right, so it's not just me. I'm not stupid. I'm not just like I have my attention span of a goldfish, but I'm just like, what the fuck? But, a lot of questions, but I still really do enjoy this movie.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. And how about you, Mr. Mashavecchio?
I like this movie. Overall impression, I like it. I like these types of movies. I'm not a big sci-fi guy, but I do like movies that they're quick. Kind of makes me think, okay, what's going to happen? What's the big deal with this event horizon? And yeah, whenever they first pulled up to it, I was like, what the fuck is? It's like shaped like it has all these arms off of it, And I was like, why is it shaped like that? Why is it so big? And then they try to get Dr. Weird to explain it. Yeah, I noticed everybody's talking about what they didn't like about the movie, and they're going, "But I loved it." It's kind of like talking about a woman.
Thank you, thank you. And how do we refer to ships? As women. So, there you go.
Like, yeah, she's kind of bossy. Complains about everything that's in my apartment. Everything. She's cool though. I like her.
But man, boy, do I love her.
Right next to you. Just so
I'll put up with it at least 3 months before I actually take these red flags seriously. All these red flags we're going to ignore because there's a chance that she might touch me somewhere special. And I was hoping this movie would touch me somewhere special. So I did it. I like the actors, of course, and I like Jason Isaacs. I like Richard T. Jones. I like Sam Neill and Lurie Fishburne. It was and Jolie Richardson. Anytime I can see her, that's great. But yeah, it was I was pretty impressed by it when I finally watched it from beginning to end. Now, because it was like one of those on the ship, you always catch it. And I guess since when I was in the Navy, I start understanding rank structure and words they use on all these shows like Star Trek and Captain and XO and all that stuff, and I understand all of that. Oh, XO is second in charge. I can deduce it.
Got it.
And they said the title of the film like 100 times, in here. So I was like, bing, bing, bing.
Just in case you forgot what you paid to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Great movie though.
So
I
overall, you like?
Yeah, cult movies are always kind of my favorite anyway. If it doesn't do good at the box office, I probably love it.
And this one did not. It was a flop.
Hey, if it's a flop, sign.
Yeah.
That means every
Number
idiot
77.
thought, I mean, Titanic was a good, everybody went to go see that. Even though they know the ship was going to fucking sink.
Yeah.
We didn't know what was going to happen to the Event Horizon. Yeah.
We did not. And you know what? And I mean, it's not that I'm super smart, but I do like the space stuff. I don't know how many people put together how Event Horizon ties into the black hole, but it does. It's there. Not you guys. I'm talking about the 30, 40 people that actually paid in 97 to see it. I know you guys got it. So now we'll go to the USS High Fructose. USS High Fructose, in any order of the two of you there, just, overall impression.
Go ahead.
I think as far as horror goes, I like space horrors. The there's no way to run feeling is, I think, what I enjoy the best. Not like Hills Have Eyes, like just pick a direction and run. You can't really do that in space.
Yeah.
The airlock scene, I think, was my favorite scene. It was like the most tense, and even though I don't like gory scenes, like it was enough tension to where I enjoyed it. You guys know how much I love my weapons and my loadout scenes. We haven't had a good loadout scene this season, but improvised weapons is a thing that I also love, and that bolt gun was dope. Ever since I saw Darkman and I saw them use that nail gun as a weapon, I've always loved projectile weapons. Or rocket, you guys mentioned it already, the rocket pack scene. If you're in space, you're going to use your oxygen to guide you to safety. Other than that, the ending, I didn't like the ending, and mostly because I didn't know was the ship possessed, and then it possessed Weir, and then for some reason the ship brought back Weir even though he was launched. And then number two was like, what was the goal of, like, did the ship escape hell, but all it wanted to do was go back to hell? Was it trying to gather souls to take back to hell? Did hell want to escape? And in fact, that's what I didn't like about the movie. But other than that, love the movie.
The fact that there was zero answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also didn't like that. So my turn, I guess. I think overall, I enjoyed watching this movie. I don't enjoy thinking about this movie.
Great.
I felt like it was that classic haunted house in the middle of nowhere, gets inherited by a family, and people move in and they try to make it home, and the house kills you. But they were like, let's do it in outer space. So, because they had like a creepy kid, they had scary cryptic messages being left for them, they had possession, the family members all turn on each other, and the house is most certainly alive in some way. So I thought it was not a sci-fi, because as we pointed out, the tech was not very sci-fi. So I really think this was like a half developed idea. And I think this could be a really cool movie, but I did find it enjoyable to watch. I'm pretty torn overall, but like, watch it, I guess, because it's fun to watch, but please don't expect any answers, or like watch it because it's fun to see. There's some cool scenes. It's a spectacle. I think was all the point of it, really. So those were my overall feelings on it.
No, you I think everybody kind of all jokes aside, everybody brought up everything that's good about it and everything that's bad about it. And your description is how I described it for the last 25 years. It's a haunted house in space.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And Adam, spot on. Movies where you're stuck where you're at, you're in a submarine, you can't go outside. Well, there you go. But and cast, I think this movie has a great cast. It really, really does. I mean, I know we're going to do the recasting, but
it's good.
They make it watchable. They make it believable. As unbelievable as it is, like you said, the tenth scene with Noseworthy, because all of a sudden we care about this character. I don't know why, but we care about this character. So on that note,
but Herchel, I did want to say I'm always interested in seeing what future technology choices they do use in movies, and if they come true. And then it seemed like for Joe's jump scares, it seems like every time a hatch or door opened, it was a big like Wilhelm scream went with it. I was like, is something just really fucking screaming when these doors are open? And that was like, it was every time something opened.
Yeah.
It's it's all jump scare. I mean, it is. I mean, they spend a lot of time setting up atmosphere, and I talked about the color green and the curvature of the archways, but really, I don't know that you've noticed that because everything else is so in your face. It's not subtle. It's not subtle at all. And that's not. I'm not knocking it for that, but this is not. As many questions as there are, there is no subtlety in what you are shown. But with that, so I'll let the group decide. Do we want to give rankings or Dixie Cups first, or do we want to do EMI first? You guys tell me.
I have a template on YouTube. Whatever that template is, it makes editing easy.
No. See, we're mixing it up.
Okay,
but that's fine. Whatever. We'll go ahead and do our EMI on this one, just because I think it's interesting as we've sat here and picked things apart.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys picked some ships apart, and so your EMI was 5 ships, and you can either, hey, these are just, I love these ships movies. Chris, you're going to throw the Carl Vincent on there because I know you loved it, or whatever, or ships that drive you bonkers. And as much as I like this movie, the ship drove me bonkers. Why the hell does it need to be so big? Apparently, some other people felt the same way. So, again, because you're on my screen, Mr. Mattis, what do you have for us with your EMI?
Yeah. And I'm just kind of going through things, and I was trying to figure out, it was like, okay, figure out a ship and like something that was either good or bad about it, or why I would, I guess, want to be on that ship or on that command kind of thing was kind of how I went to it. So, I mean, you aren't going to list ships from TV, movie, life in general without mentioning one of the Enterprises. So I went with the Enterprise E from TNG, Next Generation, because MWR system's pretty good over there. You got 10 forward, the holodeck, plus like the ship's big enough to like you embark with like your family, it kind of seems like. So like because you're out in long space missions, like it's not bad. I think that'd be pretty good command in a sense to serve on. Then I went with, for a pseudo film, the USS Bulkley, which was in Captain Phillips, because that was the one that got the pirates, and I put that down because get to serve with Commander Frank Castellano again, who was our XO for a minute there. So that's good times. I was kind of looking up other ships, something that I wouldn't want to be part of. The SS Venture, which was the ship that brought the dinosaurs to LA or whatever in Lost World. So, like it's probably not going to be a great transit, and like, you really kind of fucked up there too by like being part of that operation and releasing that havoc.
And you're gonna die.
Yeah, definitely. If you make it, that whole transit too, because you could. But yeah. Then I went with one from a series on Amazon, the Rocinante from the Expanse on Amazon. That was a good sci-fi series. Like it's a smaller ship, like a tight crew of like 6-7 people, but it's like a good tight-knit group. So it's nice to kind of having that tight ship family bond kind of thing. Get on board with that. And then really was trying to think of a fifth one, and that's kind of where I ended up. I was like, well, as long as I don't go first, something would come to me.
Oh no.
But,
Well, and,
We'll come back to you.
Because we skipped you last time, so I
Right.
wanted to make sure we got you.
Oh, you guys
It was
skipped.
10.
Yeah, we got skipped. We got skipped.
Yeah. But I tell you what, no, he's right. We can come back to you. So, Chris, what do you got?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to start with the Orville. I like the Orville. There's no complaints about it. Seth, I like anything Seth MacFarlane does, really. His take on he's a lover of Star Trek and Star Wars. We know this from all the Family Guy episodes that he does on them. But I like the Orville. My number 4 would be, I really love the TIE fighters in Star Wars. My complaint about the TIE fighters is they can fly with that design, and they can fly great, right? And then it's like stormtroopers design the gun systems to where they can't hit a fucking thing. Just like you're in a canyon with another aircraft where both of you are taking up the whole space, and all you gotta do is shoot in front of you. You're going to hit something. They're still missing. Number 3 is the SS Minnow from Gilligan's Island. This is a very small wooden boat that these people are going to take a 3-hour tour on. I don't see a millionaire choosing this boat to go on a 3-hour tour, so I don't know why Thurston Howell and his wife Lovey were on this one. And then from all the brains that were on that ship, nobody could fix the hole to get it back into the water. I mean, it looked like it was above the water line too, so I don't know what the problem was. No HTs on that one, just Gilligan and Skipper. So that was 3. So number 2 is the USS Missouri from the movie Battleship. My last command was the TICOM material inspection team, where I did in-serve inspections on ships. It was really hard for us to get ships that are actively in use every day in the active United States Navy to get underway in under like 2 to 3 hours. The USS Missouri, which has been a museum and had some old dude hanging off the yardarm without setting man aloft in this movie, they got underway. I don't know if you noticed the sun in the background.
No.
It pretty much did not move, and they got this old battleship underway.
In a couple hours, yeah.
Yeah, it was like 10 minutes. And I was like,
had all the old veteran sailors,
all
so they
the
just
old
topped to
veteran
it.
sailors. One of
Just
my
get
old
a couple line
captain,
handlers are good to go.
I totally forgot about that.
they got underway pretty quick, no problems. And of course, the old gas worked. I guess all the gas that leaked Arizona over to the Missouri, they used that. And my number 1 is kind of it could be a tie, but I'm going to pick the Kraken 2 from the movie Inner Space. I want to say when I was about 10 years old, I went to the movies to see this. I think I went to the movies 3 times to see this. As Joe's favorite guy was in it, as the bad guy, Vernon Wells, who looked like a fruit in Commando wearing a chainmetal shirt. But Vernon Wells was in this, and he could put different things on his hand to kill people with.
Awesome.
And like the best part of that movie, a little girl standing in the mall with her balloon, he just walks by and pops it. What a bad guy. But I like it, the concept that I could just get in this spacecraft or whatever you want to call it, and go anywhere inside Meg Ryan's body that I wanted.
Oh,
Even as a 10-year-old.
I didn't.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I want to
shrink you down to like the size of like a blood cell.
Yeah, and you're just flying through their bodies, and it was a good movie. I still watch it to this day when it comes on. Martin Short, Dennis Quaid, and Meg Ryan. It's a classic and one of my favorites when it comes to spacecraft. And my other tie for that was, it's kind of the same thinking, was the Proteus from Fantastic Voyage, where they're going in to fight somebody who had a disease. They were going, that was what, 60-ish, 60s?
That was 66. 66, yeah.
Yeah, Kraken 2, though. Kraken 2 is my number one.
Well, there you go. It's a good list, man. It's a good list. All right. Mr. Joe, what do you have for us?
Righty. On my no complaint ship part of the instruction here, the ship from Galaxy Quest, the NSEA,
Protector.
It had everything. Every time any situation you get into, it had something there. Those engineers from that dying race or whatever, they did pretty good work on that thing. Big complaint, and I'm surprised no one said this yet, but like the weakness of the Death Star. I mean, okay, whatever. On my also spacecraft complaints would be the vehicle that Ludacris flew to outer space with what's his face in our Fast and Furious 9.
Pontiac Fiero?
The Fiero. I have major problems with that. Also, what Chris said, this isn't any ship in particular. You could use the bad guy ship from Galaxy Quest for a really good example of this, but ship designs, like sometimes they're just out of control. Like I just don't believe them. And then another complaint I have is the ships in King Kong versus Godzilla, where like at one point in time Godzilla's like chained to the entire deck of this thing, and then like the next scene he's like jumping nimbly bimbly, like his foot's is as big as these. I'm like, maybe it's not so much on the ships. It's not the ship's fault so much. It's Kong's fault, I guess.
Joe, you're a former United States sailor. Those are called aircraft carriers. You know what the fuck they are.
One point,
where's your Blue Jackets manual? Go reference your Blue Jackets manual. You come back.
It wasn't, but yeah, I guess it's more about that one. I can't really complain about the size of the aircraft carriers in general. It's mostly bad, I guess, shooting by the movie people. But yeah, those ships always drove me crazy. Those aircraft carriers, shipping vessels.
Okay. Was that all five?
Was that five? That was like three.
No,
are you counting all three of the ships in the King Kong movie?
I had Galaxy Quest. I had the Death Star.
Yeah.
I had the ships in King Kong. I had the Ludacris Fiero.
Fiero. All right.
And I mean, and then I had like just my general complaint about like just like design sometimes in these like movies, but even like Thanos' ship or whatever. I'm like, that doesn't look like it would fly very well. But what do I know? I'm not traveling around, you know.
Alien technology.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Andy, did you have you had enough time?
Yeah, I
need to
did.
circle back?
I was thinking about it, and probably another ship I don't want to be on is the USS Alabama, which was the ship from the battleship from Under Siege, because even though you get you know, Steven Seagal as the ship or the ship's chef, you do have to serve under Gary Busey, and nobody wants to serve under Gary Busey. So yeah,
a couple of women that have sued him very recently for that very thing.
Yeah.
I got some Buseyisms after this.
I just wanted to keep the sexual harassment alive. So,
so weird
high
thing to say
fructose.
out loud.
Hey man, I'm just saying. You know what? This is Paul Anderson's wish, all right? From 97 to now. I'm just making sure it happens. But, so do you there, High Fructose. What do you have?
I can go first.
Either one of you.
He looked at me. I wrote down in no particular order, The Heart of Gold from Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy. It had this thing called the Infinite Improbability Drive, which was what powered the ship, but also made it really impossible to like predict anything. And it was hilarious and a weird plot device. But I would not want to be on the ship because you never knew what was going to happen or where you were going to end up. Sometimes you ended up where you were supposed to. Anyways, I wrote down the Flying Dutchman from Dead Man's Chest of the Pirates of the Caribbean series, because I always enjoyed the part of the ship, part of the crew nonsense that they do. Like once you are on the ship long enough, you become part of the ship. And I thought that was really a unique and interesting take on what a ship is like. And I remember thinking that sometimes on really hard nights when I was at sea. I thought about recently watched a Murder on the Nile, and they're on a cruise ship and it seemed really nice. And I would love to be on that because that's about as big as a cruise ship as I would want to be on, just like a floating, delightful hotel.
And there's also murders.
Well,
Who doesn't love a good murder?
A murder mystery ship on the Nile sounds pretty wonderful to me. I don't know. Cool. I want to be on there.
You need to take notes on that, Adam.
I thought of the It's My Birthday Party ship from Thor Ragnarok because
they have orgies. I think I know what kind of cruise ships you're into.
Wow.
Orgies. Excellent.
It just sounded like,
Sodom
wow,
and
a
Gomorrah.
party ship.
This is all new to me, you guys. This is on you.
That ship was awesome.
All
though.
the
It was
wrong way.
fun.
It's a singing ship that does fireworks and stuff. That's really cool. And then I'm gonna go with the TARDIS from the Doctor Who series because I ran out of ships.
Bigger on the inside.
It is bigger on the inside and it can take you
Yeah.
anywhere through time and space. Why would I not want that? Those are my ships.
There you go.
Oh.
Mr. Adam.
All right. As a 10-year former Navy sailor, I have 5 ships and I'm going to complain about all of them. Number 5.
So glad you're last.
Number 5, Spaceball 1. Call back to one of our movies that we watched. My complaint is that it had a super weak transformation. I mean, it turned into a vacuum cleaner maid.
Mega Maid.
Mega
Yeah,
Man.
Mega
Yeah.
Maid.
Number 4 from Master and Commander, the HMS Surprise. My complaint is scurvy, and it was also undersized to be chasing that privateer.
Wow, you are a sailor.
This is pretty annoying already, huh?
Number 3 from Pitch Black, the transport ship Hunter Grantner or something like that. My biggest complaint is that it transports criminals wanted and like the most wanted criminal in galaxies. Like, you know what? I don't want to be on that ship. We're on number 2 from Firefly, the Serenity. The repair cost and the maintenance that needs to be done on that ship is like, nope.
Always something wrong.
And number 1 from Star Wars is the TIE Interceptor. It looks super cool. It's all angular and you know, menacing looking, but they have weak shields. They're just fodder for, and that's how the Empire did things. They just sent bodies to their death. But those are my 5 ships.
Well, there you go. Your 5 ships.
You're so
Got throw-
Thank you for
You got to throw bodies at the problem.
yeah.
I do go with Joe's weak Death Star theory. Is like every movie these these advanced civilizations of aliens come to destroy Earth, and then we find out, well, we don't have to kill the other 2,000 ships. We just have to kill that one, and then the other ones crumble. It's like,
Yeah.
you guys didn't think of that, making a better system? Yeah. Same with the Death Star. If you hit us in the belly button, we'll explode. You know, a force field doesn't work there.
Well, thank you everybody for being bitchin' sailors.
I had fun with mine.
No. You just want to have orgies and have birthday parties and murder. Yeah, totally good to go.
All murder.
This was about the ships, not the movie plot.
Sounds like an aircraft carrier anyway. But,
Yeah. Exactly what happens.
So that leaves me for my list. So since we're on the Star Wars kick, who doesn't like the Millennium Falcon? I still like the Millennium Falcon. That's Han Solo's ship. I do have a complaint. So when we're introduced to the Falcon in a battle, they had to man the guns. Yet every time thereafter, nope, good to go. We can just shoot. Me and Chewie are the only ones on the ship. We can blast away and save the day and get a medal for it. So do you need to operate the things or not?
Maybe they were on an LCP and RCP.
Could have been. It could have been. You know, maybe they're in standby, AEW auto. I don't know. Who knows? But air ready. They're always in air ready. So another one that I do like is, I don't know if you've seen it, but Forbidden Planet, Leslie Nielsen, traditional, softer looking ship, the C-57D. That's from the 50s. It's all over the internet. Take a look if you want. Also, 2001, the Discovery. I think it's cool looking, but kind of like Event Horizon. Why in the hell does it need to be so big? There's only 2 guys operating the thing plus a computer, yet it's massive. Completely massive. And for some more bitching, I know because everybody here is in love with Carl Urban, you've seen the new Star Trek movies. So let me go to Star Trek, the first one when they rebooted it. What was that, 08, 09?
Yeah.
Got the Romulan ship. It's big, it's menacing. Okay, cool, I got it. And this goes back to maybe some of your design, Joe. You get in this thing, and every catwalk is a leap to doom. Like, you take one step, and you're falling 500 feet. Like, who in the hell does that? Why? Why would you do that?
Or has everything also a catwalk? Yeah.
All scary.
Yeah, well, I guess so. I mean, this is just a simple mining ship full of workman's comps claims, I'm sure.
Have you ever been to AFVLS?
Yeah. But I mean, you know, at least there's grate. I mean, you have to pull those up. Yeah, whatever. Who cares? Take it easy, kid. It's only a movie. So going to the next Star Wars, what is that? Or Star Wars, I'm sorry, Star Trek. Star Trek Into Darkness. And you have Peter Weller. Great. Love Peter Weller. And he, you know, he's the rogue admiral and designs this dreadnought ship, this huge dreadnought ship to be piloted and operated by a minimal crew, which apparently was not a novel idea because Captain Kirk's dad operated a ship all by himself in the first movie so everybody could get away. But nevertheless, he does it. And there's only like, what, 12 people on there? They end up fighting until they get to the bridge, if that.
Something like that.
Do you remember how they got on that ship? They came into this cargo bay that's like 87 football fields long. What the hell for? Why?
Yeah, how much cargo are you picking up or transferring?
The whole ship is just this one empty cargo bay, kind of like the stupid corridor in Event Horizon. But hey, you know what? There you go. That's contracting. That's union shit. Like, they had to use all those materials. It had to happen. But yeah, so that's my list. It's quick. It's down. It's dirty. So from here, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead because I know everybody is they're kind of anxious to give their scores, their Dixie Cups, after we've picked this movie apart and talked about, if you forgot, we're talking about Event Horizon. So, Mr. Mashavecchio, how many Dixie cups are you going to give Event Horizon?
7 Dixie cups. for
Wow.
Event Horizon, just because
Right
of the
out.
amount of sparks.
Good.
Love it. Love it.
Mr. DeCaval.
I'm going 6.
Okay. Fair. Any reason
Yeah.
for that, or just?
I have, I mean, it's a good movie or whatever. It's not for everyone. Well, apparently it's for everyone on this board. Yes, everyone kind of liked it, but so there's 5 of my friends down. I don't know. I mean, it's just it's fun to watch once a year or something. I'm not gonna go crazy about it or anything, but yeah, I like the movie. I enjoy it. When it's on, I don't like jumping into the middle of it. I like watching it from the beginning. So yeah, if I catch it from the beginning, I'll watch it. 6 stars.
But
6 hats. 6 Dixie cups.
Come on, Jim.
Dixie cups. God damn. Blue Jackets manual, like you were
What
told.
do you want from me?
A little
All
attention.
right.
Be a little more seaman like, that's all.
Yeah.
More EMI.
All right.
All right, Mr. Mattis, how about you? What's your rating?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7.5 Dixie cups. I think
7.5.
it's still a good movie. I think it holds up fairly well. As far as it's a good cast and everything. The movie, is rewatchable. Like, it's still kind of spooky, scary. It's a decent sci-fi flick. I think 7.5 is a fair rating.
All righty. Adam, how about you, sir?
The highest 7.5 that I could give it. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be like my threshold for horror, like where if I enjoy a horror movie or not. And so that's why a 7.5, the best 7.5 I could give it. That's what I give it. 7.5 Dixie cups.
All righty. Sabrina?
I am going to give this movie 6 whole Dixie cups.
6 whole. All right.
It was good, but I'm not going to be raving about it. I'm not going to recommend it to a lot of people. I probably would have stopped watching it in the first 10 minutes.
The first half move, you'd have been out.
Yeah. If it hadn't been for the purpose of the group, I'm glad that I got past those first 10 minutes and the sexual harassment stuff. Because there was some fun things to be seen. But yeah, I'm not raving, but it's fun.
Right. Fair enough, ma'am. And so that leaves me. And for me, it's a 7.5. So for as many problems as I have with it, I still like it. I will still watch it again. It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie. And yeah, it's a deployment movie. Sidebar, the first time I saw it, it was on deployment. And it was a Sunday night, and it was the day before my ESWAS board. So there you go. So I was watching this instead of studying. But anyway,
it's the best way to study.
Hey, Site TV, we had to take it when we could get it back then. So while you're tabulating, Adam, so Chris, now we come back to recasting. So who are you recasting for this movie?
We're bouncing around here.
I'm going to recast Captain Miller. I felt like the 3 white guys in the movie. If you were to blow up Pierce Brosnan, it would make these 3 actors. So I'm going to put Pierce Brosnan as the captain.
Oh, that's right.
See, I know exactly what you're saying. I feel the exact same way. It's funny that you put it like that.
For Peters, Kathleen Quinlan, I kind of recasted her because of the way she died, following her kids and just falling to her death and, kind of like busting her head and dying. I picked Katherine Heigl. I would like to see her die that way, maybe.
Jesus.
For DJ, the Jason Isaacs role, I'm going to put Jeremy Piven. I've been watching a lot of Entourage lately, and I just thought, okay, let's. He looks like somebody who always wanted to stab somebody in the neck with something on Entourage, so I put him in the Jason Isaacs role. And then Dr. Weir is going to be Carl Urban. I think he would be cool in that role. I think he would embrace it, and I thought he would look cool at the end with all the, wounds all over him. And that's it.
All right. Well, there you have it. Okay, Mr. Mattis, how about you for the recast, or do you need time?
So recast wise, I decided I would promote from within a little bit. Put Richard T. Jones as Captain Miller. I was going to promote him because I do like him, and because he's like the sergeant in the TV series The Rookie, who has leadership capabilities and qualities and stuff. So I put him up as captain. I went with Stark, who is the number 2, the XO there. I went with Gina Carano. Why not? Good strong female lead there. And then for Dr. Weir, I decided to go Mark Strong. And then I put Carl Urban as the Jason Isaacs, the DJ, the trauma doc. As keep him in Bones McCoy line of duty.
Well, there you go. Okay, Joe, how about you?
All right, I did. I recast Executive Officer Lieutenant Stark as Karen's Gillen. How do you pronounce her last name?
Gillen.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That guy that plays like
Gillen.
Okay.
On G and all that.
I recast Cooper as Wyatt Russell. And then I recast Dr. Weir as Michael Fassbender. And then I had Carl Urban playing Smith, the Sean, what's his name? Pertwee character.
Pertwee,
something like that. But yeah, Smitty. I had him playing Smitty's role.
Wow. Very well. Thank you, sir. And Sabrina, how about you?
Okay, I don't know the cast's character names very well, so bear with me on this one. I wanted the lieutenant lady to be the Shailene Woodley. I made the doctory guy Daniel Kaluuya. The doctor guy. I made the baby boy, the Anthony Ramos. And I made Carl Urban, the more irrationally angry guy that goes straight to murder of Dr. Weir. So I thought,
very well,
pull that off. Questions?
She literally on her paper has Kid Captain Doc.
I do like that somebody recast the kid, the little monster kid.
Yeah.
I want Carl Urban to be the guy on fire.
Not the kid, not like the child, but like the guy who
airlock kid.
The guy who goes to get himself the airlock.
Okay, yeah.
Because they actually call him Baby Boy or whatever, right?
Baby Bear.
Do.
Baby Bear, yeah.
Yeah, close enough. Close enough.
I only watched it once. I won't lie.
It's okay. Adam, get her off the hook. What do
you... All right. For Dr. Weir, I went with the Michael Fassbender doppelganger and Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I don't know the difference between those guys.
I do, but I guess I'm a nerd.
With Smitty, I recast it as Simon Pegg. Justin, I went with Cameron Monaghan. I don't know if you guys know who it is. He played Joker in Gotham.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then, And then kill pack, I went with Carl Urban, the captain of the Event Horizon.
Ah,
Oh, that one's a deep one. That one's deep.
maybe he actually knows Latin. I don't know. You know, get her out there. All right, so that leaves me. So for Dr. Weir, I went with Christoph Waltz. I figured he could deliver a pretty good performance in that vein. For the ladies, Captain Miller, Shamar Moore. For Lieutenant Stark, this audience will know her from Better Watch Out, and that's Olivia DeJonge, or DeJonge, however you say her name.
You said it the exact same way twice.
So yeah, whatever. Yeah,
That's
like consistency is what that's called. And then I put Mr. Urban in Justin's spot. I thought he could make us care for him as he's pleading for his life in the airlock. So that takes care of all that. That's EMI. And what's our Dixie Cup total there, Adam? Because I don't do math.
6.9 average.
6.9.
Which,
ironically,
you have picked the two highest horror movies, Herchel. They both got 6.9s, Train to Busan and Event Horizon.
Wow.
And
interestingly, wow. All right.
And it's tied for 7th overall.
And he still hasn't picked any of the really good horror movies that he knows.
No, right?
You know,
well, what are the chances of him getting 2 horror though? So
I don't think he chooses the movie. I think the movie chooses him. I think
it's a Dr. Weir thing. You know, it's funny, man. I mean, horror, even in this group, and I'm not knocking anybody. It's not everybody likes horror movies, and I get that. But it's funny, even if you go on the internet, like if you put top horror movies of the 90s, you're going to see shit like Silence of the Lambs on there. That's not a damn horror movie, you know?
Like a thriller or...
I mean, because if that's a horror movie, then Basic Instinct's a horror movie. If we're just talking about action people, But yeah, it is. It's a little bit of a divisive thing, but it is what it is. But so on that note, in about as much time as it would take you to watch Event Horizon, that's basically our take on it. A 6.9 on the Dixie Cup scale. That's a 6.9 out of 10. So yeah, there you have it. It's Event Horizon. So who's next in the hopper there, Adam?
I believe it is me.
Ooh. Yeah.
So I was given the category of 2000 to 2009 action films.
Oh.
And I was scrolling through my list of movies during that time, and then I came across 2 actors that appeared in this film together that piqued my interest. I have not seen this movie personally.
Oh no.
Those 2 actors are Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale.
They're in a movie
together?
together?
The Dragon. No, this is this Reign of Fire?
Exactly. 2002.
Oh.
Reign of Fire.
I remember that.
Didn't you see this movie?
I watched the beginning.
I was like, I've seen it on the TV. I think.
I feel like it's a cult classic right now. I've never seen it, and it seems super interesting. 2 pretty great actors, so that's where we're going. And for my EMI, this is gonna be a little off the wall, so bear with me.
Sure.
Your top 5 films where you would introduce a dragon into the movie to make it better. This could be a side character. It could be the antagonist. It could be,
any movie you would wish there was a dragon in there.
Yeah, it could be Rush Hour and you replace Jackie Chan with the dragon. I don't care. Just 5 movies where you would introduce a dragon to make it better.
So just for clarity,
yeah,
we can add it or replace a character with a dragon.
Add it or replace. Yeah.
Okay.
How you inject right into the neck of the movie.
I've already got some ideas.
Like
a dragon.
Saving Private Ryan, the Normandy beach scene, just throw a dragon in there.
Sure.
That's like a historical. Never.
Right, but
Or like
think of how
like
cool it would be with a dragon.
Yeah.
like
Thank you, Andy.
Titanic. The dragon
Okay.
just melted the iceberg.
I'm just
Yeah.
Or
gonna
hit it.
Yeah.
just gonna ignore reality. It's good.
My mind's going everywhere now.
This is
That's gonna be
this
that's gonna
is
be
too loose,
that's,
I think.
that's a good thinking one.
That's
Thinking man's question right there.
that's the best I could do with Rain of Fire.
Mhm.
I'm gonna stay away from
Good, man.
historical fiction on this.
And hold on, I'm bringing up the wheel right now.
Like, does it have to be like a
Probably not.
huge big dragon, or can you go like
Oh, any
kind of
size
will-
dragon.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm thinking
we could do like an Eddie Murphy
Mushu
Mulan
Mulan?
dragon too
Yeah.
if you wanted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. What?
You never know. You might need one of those small dragons.
Exactly. Who's next? Who's after me?
Is it Andy and then me?
It might be.
List.
Sounds
Hold on, I gotta
probably
pull it.
right. Let me just look. If we did
Look at this wheel.
We're down to comedy 2000 to 2009,
I
comedy 210 to 219, free for all 2 to 29, and then the Carl Urban
I
class.
think I was after you, Adam. Because
I think it is. You ready, Andy?
Christine after smoking asses. So let's do it. Let's spin it. Come on, Carl Urban. I really want to watch Dread.
The other day, dude.
Oh, so close.
Wait, oh no.
Oh man.
I want the Carl Urban classic so bad just to mess with you guys.
Oh.
2000 to 09 free throw. Okay.
There it is.
There
Free
you
for
go.
all. This is so dangerous.
Yeah.
Tune in next month when we discuss Rain of Fire. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye.